Theodosius, born Flavius Theodosius, was born April 10th, 401 AD, and would co-rule with his father from 402 to 408 AD, and rule in his own right from 408 to 450 AD, making his reign 42 years, a very long reign, especially for antiquity. Theodosius would have multiple sisters, and would also have a Praetorian prefect named Anthemius that would dominate much of his reign, at least the early part of his reign. And his sisters, one of them, Aelia Eudoxia, would go on to become a saint and very famous. And his reign will be dominated by women and other people in the court, but he will be much better than his father Arcadius. One of the things Anthemius did was build the Theodosian walls. These would be some of the finest walls in the Middle Ages and would be very formidable, and these walls would last another 1,000 years until they fell to the Turks in 1453. But these would be very great and an accomplishment for his reign overall. And one of the things he did for the West was putting Valentinian III on the throne in 425. And this will be important for the Western Roman Empire's story due to him. He also had the sister like before, Eudoxia, who would dominate much of his reign. And this would be a trait during much of the Theodosian dynasty of just being dominated by courtiers and not actually ruling. But one of the reasons he's much better than his father is he was more intellectually focused. And you could see this by him founding the University of Constantinople. And this would improve much of the education for the upper class. And it would prove to be a great building. And you could see a portrait here of how this helped the education of the city, and would be a great building that would be in use for a long time. And one of the accomplishments of Theodosius' reign was the compiling of much of Roman law into one thing, the Codex Theodosianus. This would be the basis of the Corpus Juris Civilis, which would be the basis of much Western law, which was composed by Justinian, who would rely on this most. He also fought a Subsonic War between 421 and 422 that proved to be indecisive, but this gave Huns time to attack, and that's exactly what they did, as they greatly devastated much of the Balkans, and this would just be bad for the empire. And the Romans had to pay a tribute. At first it was 350 pounds of gold, then it was 700 pounds of gold, and by the end, with Attila in 447, he had to pay a staggering 2,100 pounds of gold, which, if actually paid, would have been bad for the empire. So let's talk about the church controversies during his reign. There was mainly two. First was the bishop Nestorius, who created the Nestorian schism, and also the other one being from Eutyches, who went too hard against Nestorian and ended up being declared a heretic on his own. Although this would not really affect the church that much, Nestorian would be a problem, and it would negatively impact the church and its authority. So, was Theodosius II a good emperor? I'll put him at C tier as average. Like his father Arcadius, he was heavily dominated by women and members of the court, and not asserting himself at all. But, on the other hand, he founded the university and compiled a bunch of laws, and was given an easier hand than his father, so he didn't mess up things as much as his father did. So anyway, like, subscribe, and goodbye.